The global arms trade has risen to its highest level since the Cold War, with the U.S. ranking at the top of that list. According to a new report from the Stockholm International Peace Research Institute released Monday, February 20th, the United States was the largest arms exporter from 2012 to 2016, controlling a third of all exports. What's more, most of the world's arms sales come from 5 nations. The United States, Russia, China, France, and Germany represented 74% of all exports. From 2012 to 16, worldwide sales of arms were up by 8.4% compared with the previous 5 years. Nearly half of the nation's arms exports were destined for the Middle East. However, world's largest importer of major arms was India, accounting for 13% of the global total.
The French Air Force is now using eagles to bring down drones. 4 Royal Eagles, or Golden Eagles, named after Alexandre Dumas musketeers, are now able to detect and bring drones down out of the sky. French Air Force General Jean-Christophe Zimmermann told Reuters, quote, "Eagles can spot the drones several thousand meters away and neutralize them. The eagle's size and powerful claws allow it to snatch up drones during flight. In fact, the bird is known to carry away prey as large as a lamb." According to Agence France-Presse, France has been concerned about threats of unmanned flights since drones flew over the presidential palace in early 2015. Police in the Netherlands were the first to use birds to catch drones being used illegally, but this is the first military application.
Flying a single autonomous drone already has its challenges. Now multiply that by 25. That's what scientists at the University of Southern California are doing, creating flocks of coordinated drones capable of intricate, synchronized maneuvers. Their aerial performances are the result of complicated coding and algorithms, which ensure that each drone maintains its own path, avoiding the airspace of its neighbors. The drones are monitored by a series of cameras which track and coordinate their every move, relaying information between the robots and a master computer.
In general, if you're trying to solve a complicated task, you have to try to figure out, what is that task? How do you define that task for the robots? How do you break that up into pieces so that each robot can do each of those different pieces? And then how do you ensure that each of the robots actually does the job so that the entire team can be successful?
Those different tasks could range from things like search and rescue to coastal and border surveillance to wildfire monitoring. The USC team is working to create a simple controller, say via a computer or tablet interface, that would one day allow someone to easily control drones using an established set of codes, turning what are now aerial stunts into real-life applications.
An official watchdog in Germany has told parents to destroy a talking doll called Kayla. They say its smart technology can reveal personal data and it poses a real threat to the public. The warning was issued by the Federal Network Agency, which oversees telecommunications. According to the BBC, the UK Toy Retailers Association said Kayla, quote, offers no special risk, but experts have warned that the problem has not been fixed, and researchers say hackers can use an unsecure Bluetooth device embedded in the toy. In December 2016, the Electronic Privacy Information Centre alleged that the doll violates privacy rules, recording conversations and transmitting audio files to a remote server. Complaints have also been filed with consumer watchdogs for the European Union, France, the Netherlands, Belgium, Ireland and Norway.
Origami could soon protect police officers from gunfire, but we're not talking about the paper kind. A team of mechanical engineers at Brigham Young University designed a bulletproof shield inspired by an origami pattern. It's made of 12 layers of Kevlar and has an aluminum core. Kevlar is a fiber used in protective combat gear like helmets and vests. What makes this shield different? Its weight and size. Traditional police shields can weigh more than 90 pounds and cover only one person, which isn't great for high-risk situations. But the origami shield only weighs 55 pounds, and it was designed to protect up to 3 people. The team tested the shield's strength against a few weapons, and it absorbed bullets from 3 different pistols. The barrier is just a prototype right now, but the team hopes law enforcement agencies could use it in the future.
Look at that face. Such a cute little lemur face. And that face. Still cute and cuddly, but different, right? Lemurs, like humans, have distinct facial features, so scientists have devised a high-tech way to study these fuzzy little Madagascar natives. Lemur Face ID is a computer-aided facial recognition system used to identify, track, and study lemurs. The guinea pigs, or guinea lemurs for this photo-based technology, were red-bellied lemurs from Ranomafana National Park in Madagascar. No, not the movie Madagascar, the actual island off the coast of Africa. According to research published in BMC Zoology, Lemur Face ID had an accuracy rate of nearly 99%, and it looked at more than 460 lemur selfies. Well, they weren't technically selfies, more like lemur mugshots. Such accuracy means scientists have found a less expensive and less invasive way to track lemurs over time.
Now to a major security breach at one of America's busiest airports. 11 passengers somehow getting through a metal detector that wasn't staffed and boarding flights at New York's JFK Airport. ABC's David Curley has new details. Good morning, David.
Morning, Michael. A serious breach of security is what one of our security experts is calling this at one of these checkpoints at JFK. It happened with 11 people walking through a metal detector, but there was nobody manning the TSA area. 3 of those passengers actually set off that detector and continued into the security area, the gate area, because nobody was manning that position. Now, it was at 6 a.m. that they walked through. It wasn't until 8 a.m. that TSA called the Port Authority police to tell them about the incident.
3 passengers in the restricted sterile area without being screened. They have video footage of it.
In a statement, TSA says it is confident this incident presents no threat to security, adding that after review, employees will be reprimanded and retrained. As for those 3 passengers, when they landed in San Francisco, because they got on their plane without being checked, they were re-screened. Imagine their surprise, Michael, when they showed up in San Francisco at their destination and had to get re-screened at that point.
Today, the Homeland Security Department rolled out the Trump administration's plan for cracking down on illegal immigration. Homeland Security correspondent Jeff Pegues has the details.
The new guidelines come as U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement units have carried out hundreds of deportation operations across the country. Authorities will now be able to expedite deportation of any undocumented immigrant in the country for less than 2 years, immediately return many immigrants captured at the Mexican border, and hire 15,000 new Border Patrol and immigration officers. The guidelines do leave in place an Obama-era program that granted work permits to those brought to the country illegally as children. The Department of Homeland Security is also tasked with building President Trump's southern border wall, estimated to cost $21 billion. But a report by DHS's internal watchdog questions whether the department is up to the task.
Homeland Security has made progress in the last 3 years, yet faces long-standing, persistent challenges.
Testifying before Congress, Inspector General John Roth said his review found a 2011 project to strengthen 53 miles of the Arizona border was canceled, but not before DHS spent about $1 billion. There were also numerous bottlenecks in the hiring process, taking over 9 months to hire just one Border Patrol agent. Tom Schatz is president of Citizens Against Government Waste.
DHS was put together after 9/11 with good intentions, but it brought together a lot of disparate agencies that had never worked together.
DHS officials acknowledge that there is anxiety across the country about these new guidelines. Anthony, seeking to allay some concerns, officials insisted today that the new guidelines do not include mass deportations.
A riot in Stockholm, Sweden is grabbing headlines after President Trump's critical comments about the Scandinavian nation. Windows were smashed and cars were set ablaze in Stockholm's largely immigrant Rinkeby neighborhood. The commotion reportedly started when a crowd gathered near an arrest being made in the neighborhood. The people involved were largely unscathed. The only person reported as injured was a police officer who was hit in the arm by a rock. No protesters were injured and no arrests were made. The unrest happened a few days after Trump claimed Sweden's immigration policy was causing issues in the country.
Filmmaker Ami Horowitz spoke to Fox's Tucker Carlson Friday night about his investigation of refugees in Sweden. Watch this.
Well, in Sweden's own words, they consider themselves to be a humanitarian superpower. They feel it's their moral duty to open their borders to all and any refugees that want to come to them. It's difficult to get jobs. There's too many of them, but they have tremendous benefits there, which is why so many of these migrants are going to Sweden to begin with. There was an absolute surge in both gun violence and rape in Sweden once they began this open door policy. They know that this crime is happening. They can feel it. The statistics are clear. But they would refer to what is the root cause behind it and say, oh, it's just more, it happened to be more violence. It's men who are raping people, not the refugees. They'll make excuses for it. So they have these, and what they really become are no-go zones. These are areas that cops won't even enter because it's too dangerous for them. This is the policy of the National Police Authority in Sweden, that the government has gone out of its way to try to cover up some of these problems.
All right. Then, on Saturday night, President Trump referenced that report. Roll that tape.
You look at what's happening last night in Sweden. Sweden. Who would believe this? Sweden. They took in large numbers. They're having problems like they never thought possible.
All right, let's bring you up to speed now. There is a media backlash. First of all, from USA Today, Trump cites, in brackets, fake attack in Sweden. Vox writes, Trump's invention of a Swedish terrorist attack was funny, but it likely comes from a dark place. Sweden's former Prime Minister tweeted, Sweden, ? Terror attack, ? What has he been smoking? Questions abound. Look, the dispute here is about the level of crime, specifically rape, murder, sexual assault in Sweden following the influx of large numbers of Muslim migrants. Swedes and the media say, well, it's not a problem. You say it is. Set it straight.
I don't know what they've been smoking. That's really the question. The numbers from BRA, which is the Swedish repository of all crime statistics, their numbers show that after 2006 to 2015, rape is up 50%. That's unequivocal. That's unimpeachable.
Okay.
And then murder between 2012 and 2016 is up 80%. Again, these are their raw numbers. Now, one quick thing. So they'll argue, well, the definition changed, so therefore it allows for more rapes to be counted. But the definition changed in 2005.
Okay.
The numbers we're talking about are 2006 forward.
And is the rape and murder, has it been concentrated in areas where the immigrants settled? I mean, that's a provocative question, but I'll ask it.
Yes. So the problem is that Sweden has scrubbed from their statistics what the demographics are. In 2001 was the last year they had the demographics of what the background was of the perpetrators. The number was roughly 70% were immigrants. They were embarrassed by that. So in 2001, they scrubbed that out. Now there's no way to find out other than a correlation, and anecdotally, which we have done in this video that we have talked about a number of times, where we set the case and proved the case, but it's clear that this is really the impetus for this is the widespread immigration, the open door policy that Sweden has.
These 630 refugees, including 70 women and children, were lucky. They were rescued on Tuesday by the Italian Coast Guard. More than 10,000 people have successfully made the 300-kilometer journey to Italy so far this year. Others haven't been so fortunate. The bodies of dozens of refugees who tried to cross the Mediterranean on Monday washed up on a Libyan shore. Just how they came to be there is unclear, but authorities fear a sinister link.
We understand the smugglers and the traffickers themselves were part of. They just removed the engine and disappeared. And this seems to be becoming a trend, and it's something we're really worried about, the tragedies that continue to happen in the Mediterranean.
The European Union says 1.6 million refugees reached its shores between 2014 and 2016. It's expecting a record number of refugees to cross by sea this year, primarily by being smuggled from Libya to Italy.
Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg lays out his vision for a global community. In a near 6,000-word manifesto posted February 16th, he poses the question, are we building the world we all want? Zuckerberg says Facebook stands for building a global community, an idea that he points out was not controversial when the social network started. For a decade, Zuckerberg says Facebook's focused on connecting friends. He now wants to focus on building community. Facebook CEO recognizes concerns about fake news and so-called filter bubbles, which can keep social networkers isolated from other points of view. But he believes both issues can be addressed by providing users with a broader range of perspectives. The wide-ranging letter also touches on issues like safety, inclusion, and engagement. In times like these, Zuckerberg says, Facebook must, quote, develop the social infrastructure to give people the power to build a global community that works for us all.
A congressional group of 6 high-ranking U.S. senators and House members from both sides of the aisle issued a statement Tuesday supporting the safety and effectiveness of FDA-approved vaccines. The statement comes after reports that President Donald Trump has shown some support for the widely discredited anti-vaxxer movement. Robert Kennedy Jr., who is a vocal opponent of routine childhood vaccinations, said that Trump had asked him to head a new commission on vaccine safety. Various medical organizations expressed alarm at the time. Together, the congressional group said, "The science is clear. FDA-licensed vaccines are proven to be safe and effective and save the lives both of those who receive them and vulnerable individuals around them."
According to researchers from the National Institutes of Health, a new vaccine is being tested to protect against mosquito-borne diseases. In a report this week, the Institute launched a Phase 1 clinical trial of a new vaccine that could provide widespread protection against mosquito-borne diseases, such as malaria, Zika, and West Nile virus. Dr. Anthony S. Fauci, director of the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, said in a statement, "If proven, a single vaccine capable of protecting against mosquito-borne diseases would be a monumental public health advance."
Our top story this hour, the United States and Russia are simultaneously bombing the self-proclaimed Islamic State in Syria's Raqqa region. Though the two militaries do not coordinate strikes, they do keep in contact to avoid dangerous conflict in Syria's airspace. RT Simone Del Rosario reports on how these two countries are relying more heavily on this deconfliction hotline to pass on information.
On Friday, Russian Tu-95 bombers targeted the Islamic State in Raqqa, Syria, using X-101 cruise missiles, according to Russia's defense ministry. Both Russia and the U.S.-led coalition are operating in the region at the same time, but they do not work together. To avoid any kind of catastrophe mid-air, the U.S. and Russia communicate through a deconfliction hotline.
It's not coordination, it's not synchronization, it's not collaboration. It is deconfliction, and it is about ensuring safety of flight and safety of our coalition forces on the ground. And I think that works.
Russia's defense ministry said it notified Washington of Friday's strikes in advance using that hotline. The Russian bombers reportedly hit Islamic State bases and training camps, along with a command center. Operation Inherent Resolve spokesman Colonel John Dorian tweeted, "Deconfliction of air ops with Russia continue. Today they conducted ops in vicinity of Raqqa. So did Combined Joint Task Force Operation Inherent Resolve." That day near Raqqa, 7 strikes by the coalition engaged 4 ISIS tactical units, destroyed 3 fighting positions, a vehicle bomb, a weapons facility, and more. Using the deconfliction hotline has been policy since 2015, but gained a renewed emphasis a year later after the U.S. made a regrettable error on September 17th in Deir ez-Zor, Syria, bombing Syrian military forces instead of ISIS fighting positions. More than 80 people died, according to the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The strike stopped when Russia connected to its point of contact on the hotline to tell the coalition it was bombing the wrong target, but it took 27 minutes to get through. A Central Command investigation into the incident recommended enhanced use of the U.S.-Russia Safety Deconfliction Hotline to ensure that critical information is communicated more quickly to available personnel.
Western powers are continuing to fuel the ongoing conflict in Libya. That's according to the cousin of the country's slain leader, Muammar Gaddafi. Friday marks 6 years since the start of the conflict. It's brought chaos to a country that used to be one of the richest on the continent.
Muammar Gaddafi has lost legitimacy to lead, and he must leave.
We came, we saw, he died.
You showed the world you would get rid of a dictator and you would choose freedom. Vive Benghazi! Vive la Libye! Vive l'amitié entre la France et la Libye!
Tension is mounting in Ecuador, where results for the country's first round of presidential elections remains too close to call. The outcome, meanwhile, is being billed as something of a judgment day for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Ecuador's leading opposition candidate has vowed to evict Assange from the country's embassy in London. For more on this developing story, let's cross live to RT's Marina Portnaya in Miami. Marina, Assange has been living under political asylum in Ecuador's UK embassy since 2012 with the support of President Correa. But his future now hinges on the outcome of Ecuador's presidential election. Is that fair to say?
It certainly is, absolutely. Former banker Guillermo Lasso is the leading contender among 7 opposition presidential candidates in Ecuador, and he says his country shouldn't protect someone who leaks classified information. In an interview with The Guardian, the conservative candidate said, quote, "The Ecuadorian people have been paying a cost that we should not have to bear. We will cordially ask Senor Assange to leave within 30 days of assuming a mandate," unquote. Now, according to polls, Lasso is the main rival to ruling party candidate Lenin Moreno, who was handpicked by outgoing President Rafael Correa. Moreno has indicated he would back Assange's continued stay at the Ecuadorian embassy. The WikiLeaks founder took refuge there, as you mentioned, in June 2012 in an effort to avoid extradition to Sweden, where he is being investigated for sexual assault accusations. Assange has denied all charges, insisting Sweden is using the accusations as a cover for America's effort to extradite him to the U.S. on espionage charges. Ahead of Sunday's election, supporters took to Twitter to pressure the right-wing candidates in Ecuador not to end asylum for Assange. The Twitter campaign, led by WikiLeaks, is running under the hashtag El Mundo con Assange, which translates to "The world stands with Assange."
Tonight, parts of Nevada and Northern California are underwater following weeks of heavy rain. John Blackstone is south of San Jose.
The water rose today, suddenly, relentlessly. Dozens had to be rescued by teams working in water that was often chest deep. Rosie Ruiz was shocked to find her neighborhood underwater.
I left for school, to take my daughter to school, and then I come back and I see all of this. I'm like, what's going on? It happened real fast.
So fast, the flood trapped horses and submerged parked cars, including Alti Sharmas. Your car is down there.
Yeah, our car is there, and we didn't know that this will happen.
It's the result not just of one storm or a week of rain, but a season of record-breaking torrential downpours. This flooded neighborhood sits beside Coyote Creek, some 20 miles downstream from Anderson Reservoir, so full that water has been cascading down its spillway, filling the creek to overflowing. The floodwaters also caused a miles-long traffic jam, closing lanes of U.S. Highway 101. San Jose Fire Captain Matt Lowe.
We did anticipate this, however, there's no way to totally prepare for this.
Those being rescued in San Jose now have another concern.
They are being decontaminated because this is polluted water. It could be sewage coming up from the sewer pipes that are now underwater. It could be gasoline and motor oil from cars that are underwater.
The risk of other communities ending up like this remains high. Anthony, more than a dozen California counties are under flood warnings.
India's only live volcano is erupting. According to the CSIR National Institute of Oceanography, the Barren Island volcano is now active and spewing black smoke and lava. Dormant for more than 150 years, the volcano erupted in 1991, showing intermittent activity since. The volcano is located on a remote, uninhabited island off the country's eastern coast of the Andaman and Nicobar Islands. Scientists who witnessed the eruption say they saw ash clouds during the daytime and fountains of red lava spewing from the mouth of the volcano into the atmosphere and streaming down its slopes after sundown. The volcano erupted in small episodes lasting about 5 to 10 minutes. The team of scientists did not attempt to land on the islands, as it was considered too dangerous due to the volcanic activity. They were able to gather samples of sediments and water in the vicinity of the volcano and recovered coal-like black pyroclastic material. The samples will be used to help determine the nature of the present and past volcanic activity in the region.
Fracking is both a popular and controversial way of getting natural gas and oil out of the ground, but a new study shows spills are more common than we thought. Fracking is a process of pressurizing water and chemicals to crack open bedrock and release trapped oil and natural gas. That dirty water worries environmental activists. They say it has the potential to spill or leak and contaminate local water supplies and harm the environment. The journal Environmental Science and Technology published a report that analyzed data from 4 states with major hydraulic fracking operations. It found more than 6,600 spills between 2005 and 2014. That's way up from a study by the Environmental Protection Agency, which only found 457 spills between 2006 and 2012. That discrepancy, in part, is because of different requirements for reporting a spill. North Dakota accounted for 2/3 of the 6,600 spills. The state reports spills of 42 gallons or more to the EPA. Pennsylvania, Colorado, and New Mexico were the other states in the report. Colorado and New Mexico report spills of 210 gallons or more. About half of the spills were during movement or storage rather than actual drilling. And a pro-extraction group makes the point that 70% of the North Dakota spills in 2013 happened on the well pad and never touched land or water. But the scientists who published the report say the discrepancy in reporting figures illustrates a need for more uniform reporting requirements.